Hi, my name is Henry Reinga, the president of Christian Leaders Institute. Christian Leaders Institute uses the free model of ministry training. That is, our goal is to reach the world with high-quality ministry training, including free resources so that leaders everywhere in the world get of the best of ministry training. But the fact is, there are weaknesses of the free model. And I want to talk about those weaknesses today. The Apostle Paul understood the disadvantage of free. In 2 Corinthians 11, verse 7, he writes, "Was it a sin for me to lower myself in order to elevate you by preaching the gospel of God to you free of charge? I robbed from other churches by receiving support from them so as to serve you. And when I was with you and needed something, I was not a burden to anyone. For the brothers who came from Macedonia supplied what I need. I have kept myself from being a burden to you in any way and will continue to do so. As surely as the truth of Christ is in me, nobody in the regions of Achaia will stop this boasting of mine." Now, the Apostle Paul acknowledges the disadvantage here of free. One of the disadvantages of free is that he would lower himself to elevate you. In other words, he set up his model that would be supported by a lot of people. Other churches supported him. It was not a fee-based model where he had some business plan that worked out. He had to depend upon God. He was not a burden to anyone. He just said, this is what I give. I give ministry training to Titus, to Timothy, to others, and it's free of charge. He worked harder so that they could get this great ministry training. And the ministry of the early church was founded on the free model. But there are other disadvantages of the free model. One of them is we offer this to everyone, and thousands sign up. Over 25,000 are in our roles right now, users getting ministry training. And many thousands start. But the fact is thousands quit. Now, we are okay with that, and we're good with that, because if you're not called, if you don't have that intrinsic calling, you should go find something else to do unless you are called and you can do no other. But that's a disadvantage. Many of the other college presidents who talk to me are often talking about, we have this much retention, but the fact is people pay large amounts of tuition, and the motivation is also financial and there's social obligations, whereas we depend on the intrinsic calling. So a disadvantage is that many will start, but many also will quit. But even though that's a disadvantage, in some ways, we are okay with that disadvantage. Another thing is we are always aware that we must keep expenses low and quality high. So we always struggle. We struggle to bring the best. In the United States, we have over 7,000 students. And in the United States, we, in a sense, have to live up to that standard of excellence in ministry training that is all over in for tuition-based schools. But we take that as a great challenge that we are going to keep expenses low. So we'll often get retired distinguished professors. We will try to find ways to say this is a ministry and live it as a ministry, and yet not compromise high quality. Another thing is that we must communicate more frequently our needs. We're always, in a sense, raising resources, lowering ourselves so that you can get this top-notch ministry training. Over 250 of you students and graduates have contributed on a basis of every month. And we're hoping that more and more of you students will become monthly supporters. Right now, over 100 are giving monthly. So that's what we're requesting, that you consider becoming a monthly supporter. That you students and graduates of various levels will more and more support this $700,000 budget this year? Well, we can't build fancy buildings. That's a weakness. We don't have tree-lined campuses and beautiful places that you can come to. But despite that, we do have a new address, a physical location, 700 Street, Suite 200, 700 Washington Street, Suite 200, Grand Haven, Michigan. We also have a phone number and office hours. We can't be government accredited. People will often say, well, is this accredited? Well, we cannot be accredited with a national accreditation institution because accreditation would force us to be in the fee model. And the fee model would make our budget explode to the point where we could not offer this to you, high quality ministry training, free of charge. However, we have joined Academic Council for Educational Accountability, an organization formed by the great C. Peter Wagner. When I say great, it's because he's one of the most humble men, an evangelical church growth expert in the late 1990s, formed an organization that brings accountability and peer review so that we can continue to strive for the very best in high quality ministry training. We have to always find ways for excellence at a low cost. And we keep adding new classes. And in these new classes, in fact, the entire curriculum, we work to make it responsive, meaning that if you're in an iPhone or iPad, or if you're in an Android or any smart device, it will work natively on your device. And so we found a young man who would volunteer his time in internship to create that opportunity for our entire curriculum so we keep our costs down. We have a retired pastor who's now working part-time, doing early church history class. We are working on Old Testament interpretation from a generous donation from another ministry. We have a chaplaincy class in the works for a distinguished retiree of the United States Navy. We have a worship preparation class from one of our professors who is a church planter. And we have Dr. David Fettis, our provost, who brings an excellent theological and class support in everything he is doing. And he keeps upgrading classes. So there are many weaknesses that we have to contend with. But even in those weaknesses, we see the benefit. The church, for 2,000 years, was a free model, and it is today. And God continues to use that free model to reach the world. So why not have ministry training, despite the weaknesses of it, be the model by which we train leaders everywhere?